relatively non-recurring capital costs. Our health department, $2.27 as part of our shared services agreements. And then our senior resource center at $147 per month per household. Again, just a different context to view the services you receive. So I hope you find that beneficial information. To move into some of the special revenue funds, again, this is a high-level summary. The library budget is a little over $1 million, 87% of which is funded by property tax revenue. The 2018 budget includes a tax levy increase of $17,290 to support library operations, and that's 2% over last year's tax levy. Elder services, a little less than $175,000 of expenditures. 51% is funded by property taxes, with the remaining cost funded by other funding sources, including participant fees and contributions from the William Benjamin Fund. Shorewood Today, quarterly magazine that comes out. I think everybody will hopefully be familiar with that. The cost to do that per year is approximately $95,000. 75% of the costs for that publication are funded by advertising fees, with the remaining funding of $5,850 from the school district, the bid, CDA, and property taxes, $5,850 each from those funding sources. We've touched on the debt service fund. Total expenditures $4,946,719 for principal and interest repayments in 2018. Of that, 62% or $2.85 million is from tax incremental district revenue, not property taxes directly. And then the increase for property taxes, again, is being managed at 5% per year through the use of general fund reserves to, again, spread those cost increase out over a longer period of time. Another very similar graph for our debt service fund. Trend line is moving higher. We expect that trend line will flatten out and start to dip within the next couple of years, depending again on the level of activity that we engage in on our planned future initiatives. In 2018, the capital project fund will go through some of those major initiatives. I believe that's the next slide. A whole litany of items. $3.5 million for our Wilson Drive reconstruction on the west side of town, $450,000 for Lake Drive resurfacing. $2.4 million is being borrowed for anticipated 2019 projects, and these were all in the long-range plan. There is a list in the full budget document that identifies what those items are. Again, additional engineering to continue our road program, Atwater Beach stairs replacements, squad car replacements, DPW heavy equipment. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place, but this is online for your review if you'd like to look at that in more detail. Finally, the village also has 3 funds that are supported by user fees. We call those enterprise funds. Those are parking utility, water utility, and sewer utility. Budget for parking utility is for 2018 is $270,000 and $955. About a 1.4% increase from the prior year. Revenues are based on current trends and forecast for current sales. In 2017, we did budget for a certain amount of surplus applied to balance that budget. That is not the case in 2018. It should be self-sustaining with current year revenues. The water utility in 2018, a little over $1.8 million in operating expenses. That's actually a 0.1% decrease from 2017. Revenues are based on 433,100 cubic feet. For those who want to do the math, you multiply that by 748 to get gallons. But that's what we base our revenues on. That is, again, current trends and forecasts. No anticipated rate increases in 2018 for our water services. Purchase water from the Milwaukee Water Works that supplies our utility with water accounts for 38%, or about $700,000 of the total budget cost. The rest goes for administration and maintenance of our own utility system. Sewer utility is fairly similar. Budget for 2018 is 1.7 million and a little extra. That is actually a 1% increase. Revenues again are based on the same amount of 433,100 cubic feet. That's how we do our billing, is what comes in, gets charged as outflow and sewer expenses. Again, with the sewer utility, we're not anticipating any rate increases for 2018. And MMSD, in this case, their wastewater treatment fees account for 39% of the total budget expenditures, which happens to be exactly $700,000 as well. And the rest, about 60%, is for operating and maintaining our sanitary and stormwater systems within the village. What we currently know at the time is that what we're discussing the village's proposed budget. Those other jurisdictions have budgets of their own that they submit to us that we have to process with our tax bills that we send to our residents. And kind of just a general look at the potential increases in some of those jurisdictions. Really more for informational purposes at this point. MATC came in at a 4.1% increase. MMSD 2.8. We're really just estimating what we think the state and county will be, although I believe I got that information this morning. I did not look at it closely. So in total, we're thinking trend is about a 3.2% overall increase, being that some of the larger taxing bodies are weighed more heavily with their percentage impacts because they're larger numbers. That's pretty much the budget in 10 to 15 minutes. Obviously, all of our department heads spent a lot of time putting this budget together, trying to give the best information available to our trustees. And again, I thank all of our trustees. Very long and tenuous process going through all this data to try to make the best decisions possible in putting together the 2018 proposed budget.
And a big thank you to Mark.
Yeah. It's my job.
For working through the process.
So could you just go back one slide? Can we look at the village percent change of 0.8%, the 94,000? How does that relate to the 1.5%?
Well, when
people are clear on that.
When you prepare the tax bill, there's value from our TID districts that's not distributed to local governments, but they're collected by our TID districts to make the payments on the the debt and project plan efforts that are put forward to achieve some of these major initiatives that have been undertaken. TID 1 was started out many years ago, the whole Capitol Drive and the whole Oakland corridors. A lot of work was done in those areas, with redoing the streets, improving the streets. We got TID 3, it's open, that's your developments down by the South Capitol Drive, by the Ghost Train Bridge, the new senior living. Housing is currently under construction along the river, about a half a block off the roadway, as well as the assisted living and memory care unit for the Harbor Chase facility that's on right on Capitol Drive. TID 4 was our Light Horse apartments and commercial. That includes the Walgreens development as well. And then TID 5 is the Metro Market and Mosaic buildings with the park construction in between them on North Oakland Avenue, north of Capitol Drive. So the money that's assessed against those improvements to the community that didn't exist there before the TIDs were implemented, that goes to the TID districts, but you have to multiply that in with the overall tax bill to come up with those numbers, and that throws a little bit of a softening mechanism into the equation when you start talking from 1.5 to 0.8 there. And again, please understand, for illustrative purposes, we use a fixed value on a tax bill per home, and we know that the taxes for most homeowners, their assessed value changed from 2016 to 2017. So we'll have a memo in with our tax bills when they come out that kind of explains the finer points of the overall mill rate when all the final numbers are in, as well as the impact of any, what the average increase is for assessed value between 16 and 17. And then you can call me in.
So my question was, why is there a difference between 1.5% levy and the 0.8? Is that difference totally because of?
That's a TID calculation.
That's the
Yeah.
TID calculation. Okay, that's all I needed.
What is it? Can you just provide a little clarity? Is it, what's the TID calculation, the 1.5 or the 0.8?
0.8.
Yeah.
That's with TIDs?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a whole
that's
series of
bill.
spreadsheets that I manage on the side that flows into these numbers.
The only reason I ask is, I'm just confused because the TIDs shouldn't matter. I mean, they're in and out, like we bring in the revenue and we send it out. They stay, they're not tied to our operating budget. And so when we say our operating budget is rising 1.5% for tax purposes, how do we come up with 0.8?
Well, when the TID equalized value increases more than that 1.5%,
Okay.
and increases in fact more than the overall assessed value, it softens that flow on the total
And by
calculation.
softening, it means it takes the 1.5 and reduces it.
Right.
Because
We're adding that much more increased value, and then it changes the percentages.
It is in and out, but this is only the inside of the equation.
Right.
See, he has the numbers down at the bottom, and the TID revenue went up like $400,000, so that makes the tax number go up more, or that
Yes.
affects that tax number.
On a percentage basis, yes.
Right.
Oh, so my only question, I have more questions, but just on this topic is, there are a bunch of different percentages in here, and even I get confused by seeing all the different numbers, and I'm just wondering for future budgets if there can be something very simple, some message that just tells, I mean, the most important thing for me, when I consider things and for the taxpayer, is how much more am I paying a year? And I know that's an average, like we do it on the $300,000 house, but all these percentages make, to me, as like just a quick glance, make me think that my taxes are going down every year. And this year, because we had increased assessments, I don't know if that's normal year after year, I haven't been here that long, but because we had increased assessments, and because we're factoring in TIF and all these different reasons, every time I look, it looks like we're going down, like my bill should be down. So for the layperson, I mean, I'm understanding why these are all different, but for a layperson that opens up the document or looks at the PowerPoint, it's not as clear. I know it says it in that one statement, for 300,000, but maybe more prominent. That's what people are looking at the
Well,
budget.
my solution would be to provide less information, because it is not an easy thing to.
No, I like all the information for us. I'm just saying for someone that's looking at the PowerPoint online or just making it very clear that you'll see different percentages, there's various reasons that are outlined in the details, but in general, your taxes will probably go up.
Yeah, and we try to include that in our,
I'm just saying to bring it up a little more, but that's
I
just a
can
suggestion.
certainly look at that, absolutely.
That's one of the things that actually Mark and I talked about in terms of he's made certain improvements on it this year. And so one of the things we wanted to collaborate on for next year was just a short